That's it. We are live.
Welcome to first Talking Who of 2013.
It is actually, yes, it is.
The space year 2013.
Happy New
Year. Here we are, we're in 2013 and we still don't have flying cars or anti-gravity belts.
I've got an anti-gravity belt.
You do?
What about skateboards? Flying skateboards?
We don't have flying skateboards.
Are all your references from Back to the Future too?
Hovercycles?
I'm thinking more of the cover of Amazing Science Fiction from the 1930s.
Wow, I didn't know you were that old.
Yeah.
Well, of course, if you go by
and Futurama
by Judge Dredd, we should all be living in giant tower blocks.
Yes.
With a complete wasteland outside our door.
Yeah.
I
think that's actually 50 years' time, Judge Dredd. Yeah, that's actually the closest to reality going on there. Welcome to Talking Who, and welcome Blog to Who, Cameron.
Hi guys, hi the internet.
Hopefully some of you follow Cameron's blog. I think you have a lot more Twitter followers than we normally get hits. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I've got a couple of Twitter followers. Yeah. A couple.
Do you want to mention how many?
I don't know, 25,000, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I loved them all dearly.
I think Karen Gillan got more in half an hour when she hadn't turned Twitter alerts, email alerts off either.
Although I'm not a great big beautiful woman though. Not yet anyway. Thank you so much for asking me to join your
absolutely.
show. I've been a big fan of Talking Who for 5 minutes now.
Yeah.
Well, of course, we did do the Talking Who Midnight Spectacular in December.
That's right. We talked about the 50th anniversary. If you haven't seen it, it's on the internet down there somewhere.
It's if you subscribe to the channel, all the videos are there.
Speaking of that, please do comment on the YouTube chat room. And
yes, we also. Speaking of which,
and if we've got a chat room here, if people can put comments on here.
We've got the Blue Box 99 is in the comments room. We've got Ellis Hampton. We've got Tom Greaves, Stuart Wareham,
Tommy Greaves,
Billy Hitch. Hello, Billy Hitch.
Hi, Billy.
Michael Allen and 2000 Doctor Who 1.
Wow.
So we got
that must have been a mouthful when he was christened.
And Woofled. Let's not forget Woofled. Hello, Woofled.
Thank you for joining us on this 2013 special.
We once had somebody in the YouTube chat room who I think was convinced that we were called Talking Transformers. That's all he wanted to talk about was Transformers.
And then there was the guy who also wanted to talk about chickens.
Was there? I don't remember that.
There was one who said, please make chicken noises, because he couldn't understand us talking in human form.
I was about to say something really good.
But anyway, we've got a bit of a William Hartnell special tonight.
Yep. You can also tweet us. Sorry, we haven't.
Yes, we have
on tweet.
Our iPad.
Twitter is a very popular social networking.
Tom
Greaves says, hi, Cammy.
Cammy? Wow.
Cammy.
Please don't call me Cammy.
Camzy. Bit friendly, that.
Cammy, it reminds me of being 6 again. Camzy or Cam or Cameron K. McEwen.
And we got some more shout outs. The Cult Den is on Twitter watching us.
Uh-huh.
And Mr. Vivian as well is watching on
Vivian.
Twitter. And Annie Fairfoul has also joined the chat room. And we'll be hearing more from Annie later as part of our William Hartnell tribute evening.
He's got some DVDs out this month. Well, he doesn't have. He's not like releasing them as a. Hi, my name's William Hartnell.
Well, we just had the Reign of Terror out, and we've got the Aztecs coming out again.
So
because rather than releasing sort of like Terror of the Zygons or something, to Entertain and BBC are releasing episodes I've already got on my shelves again.
This is controversial.
Well, you didn't have the Reign of Terror on the shelf, other than
I didn't have the Reign of Terror.
Possibly as a CD, which I do.
But the fact is, I will buy them again.
I don't need to, but
but we do have. Well, let's catch up with the latest news. Ice Warriors.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you got a picture of there?
We've got the picture of the original first.
Okay. Yes, that's some of the old Ice Warriors from their first appearance. It looks like in season 5 of Doctor Who, and a story strangely enough called the Ice Warriors.
Are you fans of the Ice Warriors?
I love them. I love them. I've been waiting for the Ice Warriors to come back since I was a kid. They're one of my favourite monsters. So I am absolutely. And we've been promised we've had so many false starts. So they were supposed to come back in a story called Mission to Magnus.
That's right.
Back in season 21, which never happened. They were supposed to come back. It was supposed to be the first story of season 27, but season 26 got cancelled after that.
Thank God.
And and you say about me being controversial. And they were also supposed to appear in the 30th anniversary TV movie Dark Dimensions, which again never happened. So the Ice Warriors have had a lot of false starts in their returns.
Let's have a look.
Oh no, it was supposed to be an Ice Warrior in Sharda. And they never got round to filming that scene either. So a lot of false starts for Ice Warriors. They're finally back.
They're back.
And this is what they...
Oh.
So the BBC have released an action figure. No, sorry, that's an actor.
Apparently, I don't know if this is a spoiler or not. Apparently, David Warner's playing an Ice Lord. I hear.
Pass.
All right. But there is, because there's with the Ice Warriors, they're like ants or something like that. There's actually they look different in their hierarchical, and you have as well as an Ice Warrior. There's an Ice Lords. Lords are a bit smaller, less bulky. They've got cloaks.
A bit like my first wife.
Yes.
Do you think we might have an Ice Queen?
Oh.
Who knows? I mean, in this
in the sort of Queen kind of
who
way.
Who knows? Also, in this day of better makeup effects, will the Ice Warriors take their helmets off? Do they have hair? Are they bald?
Yes. What do they look like without their helmets?
Well, curiously, we've seen some pictures from Series 7, but we haven't seen anything of David Warner. So perhaps your assumption that David Warrior.
David Warrior.
Yeah, wow. Interestingly, and I used the word quite wrongly, Nick Briggs is voicing the Ice Warriors.
Oh, there's a surprise.
Yeah, wow. So you're excited by the return?
I'd just be interested to see how they tackle the Ice Warriors, because what I liked about them, I liked them very much from the John Pertwee period, where they weren't a race who were good or evil. They were like humans. You had some good Ice Warriors, you had some evil Ice Warriors. And so I'm wondering, are they going to be a bad guy?
Yeah.
Are they going to... Because they took a very similar tack with the Silurians when they brought them back as well. The idea, which was very prevalent in very 70s kind of touchy-feely time, very prevalent in the Pertwee era, where monsters weren't essentially bad.
Yeah.
They just had their own objectives, which might be different...
Or they were misunderstood.
Or misunderstood, yeah.
We have a few comments in the chat room. The Blue Box 99 says, "So happy the Ice Warriors are returning. Glad they are still true to their original form." Mm-hmm. Ellis Hampton says, "They look great, look powerful, and stick to the classics. And the claw has gone. They've evolved."
Well, that claw, it was a great... I mean, there was... From Classic Doctor Who, there were some fantastic monster designs. And it looked good, it looked menacing, it looked nasty, but it's like the Dalek plunger. When you think about it, you think, how are they going to build a spaceship?
Well,
how are they going to do something?
How do they even make a gun? How do they build it? You know.
Well, if we can return to the Ice Warriors and their story, and let's not forget they were mentioned in Waters of Mars.
They were.
Yes. Yeah.
In this story, it's a submarine-based story from Mr. Mark Gatiss. Familiar to older viewers as the writer of Night Terrors, Victory of the Daleks. Sherlock, that popular other show that Stephen Moffat can't write either. Can't get round to writing. Sorry, I'm joking, Stephen. If you're watching,
I'm sure he's glued to it right now.
So it'd be interesting to see how they're discovered.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering if it's going to be a bit like with in their first appearance. If it's a submarine, it's a Russian submarine that finds them, is it going to be something like these are Ice Warriors which crash landed on Earth centuries ago and they've been awakened? Because by the time it gets to waters of Mars, the Ice Warriors have left Mars, and by the time it's the Curse of Peladon and the Peladon stories, the Ice Warriors aren't even anything to do with Mars by then. They've colonised other planets. And you were saying Ice Warriors, Ice Lords. You were saying about an Ice Queen. I wonder if we might see an Ice Secretary, an Ice Milkman. You know, do they have other castes in their society?
Does somebody want to make an Ice Tea and Ice Cube guy? Maybe doing a rap. So let us know how you feel about these redesigned Ice Warriors. I will say, I'm not keen on the feet. I hope we don't see the feet in the actual episode, because they do look a bit... LSR used the word action figure in jest, but I think you're right. If you do have a look at the feet, they do look a bit weird. I think they look action figure, but I hope we don't see that part of it.
Indeed.
And what do you think of the look of this new villain, the Spoonheads? I mean, what on earth's going on
there? Let's come to that in a second. They appear in the first episode, The Bells of St. John, which the Doctor finds something lurking in the Wi-Fi, which sounded to me like a very filthy euphemism. Ooh, I've got something lurking in my Wi-Fi.
Betty.
Accent number 1. And it stars Celia Imrie, known throughout the world as a pilot in Star Wars The Phantom Menace.
Yep.
It's set in contemporary London. It's got the Shard, it's got other contemporary London things.
Well, there's that image that's just been released of the Doctor driving down the Shard on a motorbike, and all images in the glass of other creatures. Which now was because I saw online, and I was sure on one of them I could see a Dalek. Was I correct there?
I didn't see one.
I might have misinterpreted something.
But the Spoonheads.
Yes.
If we can return to the Spoonheads, feel free to let us know what you think.
Well, Barry Aldridge says the Spoonheads made me laugh, but they could be good. The Spoonhead name, I suppose, makes him laugh. Yeah.
Well, is anyone thinking or hoping they're going to do a Button Moon drama?
Well, you do know that the Clangers have appeared on Doctor.
Of course,
they were communicating with the Master. Yes.
Yeah. Spoonheads. The name is utterly fantastic. I love it. It's
really? You love the name of the Spoonheads?
Yeah, I think it's good because what do you do with a spoon?
You give it to Sylvester McCoy and he kind of goes like that on his knee.
Wow, the first mention of Sylvester McCoy.
Probably the last.
Let's hope so. So Spoonheads, they're robots.
Yeah.
And they've got spoons for it.
Yeah, just imagine if Moffat was in charge in the 70s.
I'm assuming this is just a nickname.
Well, just think if Moffat was in charge in the 70s, I'm sure the Sontarans would have been called the Potato Heads.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
But then you think he was in the kitchen and he was really struggling for an idea?
But then you never know. I mean, if, say, they're an alien race who have their own name and then humans meet them, you would give them a name like that.
I mean, that's slightly racist. Or species.
Speciest.
Well, you know.
Spoonheads. Yeah, but let us know what you think of Spoonheads. I think it's brilliant. I think it's a wonderful move to get the cutlery fans out there involved. I'm looking to next year because they're going to have the fork faces. I had to watch how I say that. So that's the first episode.
Yeah,
indeed. Bells of St. John. Any comments on
the Gallifrey Times says Spoonheads, funny name, look very similar to those head things in Silence of the Library.
Oh, the nodes. Here's an interesting fact. One of the nodes, one of the actors who played the node is now a star in Once Upon a Time in the USA.
Right.
Yeah. He's the main guy, the Prince Charming. Little factoid there from you for free.
Just going back to the various ice casts, Ellis Hampton reminds us we forgot about the Ice Children.
Ice Children, yes.
Oh, and of course,
or Ice Babies. Of course, yes.
Oh no.
Okay, let's move on before this conversation
somebody's
degenerates.
Saying it looks like the Draconians are back. Well, this comes to what we were discussing earlier, that it's not actually the Draconians, but if you look at a picture, it does look a bit like a Draconian because it's that up-shaped head and a bit of it. But you said they're called the mummies.
It's got the picture the BBC have tagged it the mummy, and he's in a cube of glass. We don't have the picture there, do we?
No, we don't.
It does look like something. Not so much like a mummy that's wrapped up. It looks like what those bodies look like when the bandages have been taken off.
Yeah, a lot of people when they saw the Christmas trailer. The trailer after Christmas thought it was a Sycorax because there is a similarity, but it's not. It's a thing called The Mummy, and it's in the Neil Cross episode. Neil Cross, of course, famous for Luther, and also wrote that horror film Mama.
I just saw that on the weekend.
Like it.
But in those new photographs,
I wanted to see Stoker, but my girlfriend wanted to see it because Nikolai Kostai.
But in the new photographs, we've also got for the Doctor.
Yes.
Before we discuss the outfit, in the promo picture he had a golden bow tie. Did you notice that?
No, did he?
And why would it be golden? Anyone?
I have no clue. Why would it be golden? Because it's his anniversary.
50th anniversary. That's 50, guys.
Are we going to be making references on the show like that?
Yeah.
Well, the Cybermen.
Are we going to start? It'll be like sort of the Bad Wolf. They'll have like 50 written everywhere. and Clara will be going, "What's 50 mean?"
50.
50. What does this mean?
He goes to see a football game and it's 5-0. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Doctor's new outfit.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Yeah. Well, it's in the style of what he previously would wear. It's as much in the style of what the 12th Doctor, the 11th Doctor wears. And John Pertwee...
Bit of a William Hartnell sort of waistcoat kind of thing going on, maybe?
But still done in a very trendy way.
Yeah.
John Pertwee and Tom Baker's Doctors regularly had
Changed
costume
outfits,
changes episode by episode while still keeping within the style of what they wore. It wasn't until you got John Nathan Turner as a producer and it was almost like their costume became a uniform that they, did either the 5th Doctor had a whole rack of cricket clothes, or when did he wash them if he just wore the same thing all the time?
His clothes are self-cleaning.
But it's still nice to have a bit of variety.
Yes, I agree, and I think it's even Tennant had a variety with 2 different suits and popping into tuxedo.
Plus, no doubt, character options are rubbing their hands. Another Doctor Who variant we can release.
Wayne Tillett in the Twitter says, love the new costume. And Mr. Vivian on Twitter says, I prefer the Doctor shaking up his wardrobe a bit. He needs to change his clothes. Bound to get a bit sweaty after a bit. Yeah. Well, especially with all the running.
Apparently his wardrobe is bigger on the inside.
Yeah.
I apologise.
Yes, you should.
It's an interesting choice they've gone for because it's much more formal than it was. Whereas before it still had an action feel to it. But now it's very...
I'm assuming the braces are gone because I've got the waistcoat now, so there's no need for the braces.
Well, you may have braces underneath them.
A gentleman will not wear waistcoat with braces. Yeah.
So, good. And any other things you're looking forward to in this particular... season
this
coming
actually
up.
Season, I wonder if it's because it's the 50th anniversary season, but it seems to have been one of the most classic monster heavy seasons we've had. You've had the Daleks return, the Cybermen are coming back, the Ice Warriors are coming back, we've had the Great Intelligence back, we've had the Weeping Angels back, and they're now allies of the Doctor, but we've had a Sontaran and a Silurian. So it's almost like I think all we're missing is the Autons and the Mara, and you've had pretty much every recurring monster has appeared in some way this season.
And the finale.
Yeah.
I wonder what's going to happen there. There's last year at a convention, Carol Skinner and Matt said that Alex Kingston would be back this year at some point, and
maybe for the 50th.
Perhaps for they've secretly filmed there for the finale of Stephen Moffat.
I get the impression that the first half of the season we had last year, I felt was about the Ponce. I reckon the new season is going to be about Clara, Jenna Louise Coleman's character, and it's going to be her arc of what is this thing? Why was she around in the far future, battling Daleks? Why was she around in Victorian times? Why is she being reborn in modern times? I think that's going to be the mystery. I think that's all going to be resolved in the final episode. I don't think it's going to be carried on beyond this season.
Because the 50th anniversary story has to be about the Doctor.
Oh yeah, but what I mean
it can't be about the companion.
You could still sort of like leave it on a cliffhanger, do the 50th, and then pick it up next season. Well, but I think it'll be all wrapped up. And I'm actually even wondering if we'll be seeing Jenna past this season, whether she's just going to be in it this season. And then we'll see Matt off on his own for...
Well, curiously, 2 points here. Stephen Moffat has said in the press release that the Doctor's greatest secret will be revealed in this season. So that's obviously that his name's Keith. Clara, now I was at a talk with Howard Burden, who's becoming costume designer on Doctor Who, and this may have been maybe it slipped his memory, but he was talking about the cast of the 50th anniversary.
Yes.
And he said, this was just 2 weeks ago, he said that he didn't know anyone in the cast apart from Matt Smith. Now it could be that he just forgot that Jenna was in it, but it was an interesting omission to make, considering he'd worked with her.
I could understand. I mean, even if it's just having 3 of the Doctors, even if they're just going to have David Tennant and
popular choice.
Yes, and can't even remember his name now. Christopher Eccleston. Even though they just have those 2 back, or even if they go for all the Doctors, that's a lot of characters to juggle within a story. And then if you start putting in, I would love to see something like the 3 Doctors worked great because it was a good story on its own. Whereas the 5 Doctors I felt was a complete mess because it was. I'm sorry, I felt it was because it was too busy trying to go. Here's Zoe. Here's Jamie. Here's Susan Foreman. Here's the first Doctor. It's like
I love the 5 Doctors. I guess I'm much younger than you guys, so that's probably why.
Peter Davison was your Doctor.
Yeah, I love the 5 Doctors.
And I even felt trying to throw in all these different monsters into, here's the scene with a Dalek, here's the scene with the Cyber.
Yeah. I mean, all these things are tick. This is brilliant.
I would just rather like a good story.
So you don't want to see the 11 Doctors that many people have been rumouring about on the internet?
No, if they can get all the 11 Doctors together, great. Although they're going to have to use some CGI trickery and whatever.
Hey, you've not seen the advert with
Yes. The dancing pony.
Audrey Hepburn advert.
Okay.
Or maybe
they've made her come back. And there's Marilyn Monroe advert as well, of course.
With chatting with Charlize Theron. Maybe they'll get Ian Levine to CGI them in.
Wow. You went there.
SL Friend 79 says, I'd like them to bring back the Zygons.
I'd love them. I mean, the Zygons is probably
and
one of the...
Wolfled actually says that the Zygons are back in November.
Well, can I just point out the Zygons have actually been in Doctor Who?
Well, they've been mentioned a few times.
Well, no, in the Power of 3, technically, one of those people we saw was a Zygon in human form.
Right.
I'm just being pedantic.
Yeah, sure. What did he do with his suckers on his face?
Pardon? Zygon's brilliant story.
Egan Morgan is asking, will there be a first half of season 8 later this year? No. I won't.
No.
You'll have to wait till next year.
Yes. Where they might do it. I think they're going to do it in 3 parts next year. That was a joke.
Actually, season 8 is going to be done in 3 parts, shown over 5 years.
Yes, they'll be filming it like one week at a time
to give Moffat time to write it.
Wow, very true.
More comments about the Doctor's new outfit. Yeah. The Gallifrey Times says, I think the outfit needs to become a little more modern. This one looks very old and worn.
That's what the Doctor is.
And Barry Aldridge says the outfit is like the first 4 Doctors mixed together. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's quite fair.
Yeah, that's what they did with Paul McGann. Really, they gave him the velvet jacket.
Yes. And Stuart Wareham is asking, I wonder if he has a fob watch in his waistcoat, just in case.
Yes, he does. It appears he does have a fob watch.
I would have thought he does, because it does look like he does.
Yeah. And does it have human DNA in it?
It has all his past 10 regenerations for the 50th, and he can bring them back via the fob watch.
And that's when they appear.
Yeah.
And then suddenly Christopher
as
Eccleston
holograms.
appears and says...
They're like holograms.
They
give him advice as he goes along, trying to solve the mystery.
Yeah.
Each Doctor has one piece of advice.
Wow. Has LSR written the 11 Doctors? If you want to comment, you can do so down here, I think, on the YouTube channel, or you can tweet.
Yeah. So have you got any tweets?
Yeah, we have a tweet. We have Geronimo Seb saying, could different versions of Clara be splintered throughout time like Scaroth in City of Death?
Jaggeroth, yeah.
Yeah.
Will she take off her face and she's like got these worm heads?
Maybe she is the second to last of the Jaggeroth.
Well, interestingly, a friend of mine who works at the BBC, but I just thought I'd throw it in, and we were talking about Clara, but we're also talking about how Stephen Moffat likes to steal things like the Time Traveller's wife that he's used repeatedly.
Twice, at least.
Oh, yes. But somebody suggested, I don't know if you're aware of Cloud Atlas, but the same people play different characters throughout time, and he wondered if perhaps this was
a direct rip-off.
But there is a thing at the end of the Christmas special that the Doctor is not just, it's the same actress playing certain roles. There is a connection. There's obviously some connection between these 3 versions, because the Doctor's straight away gone,
things they say and do, and exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, well, shall we move on?
Yeah, so if you've got any thoughts on Series 7 Part 2, and I'll just finish with this, because this is a point that has slightly annoyed me. the BBC are referring to the new series as Series 7B, right? This is in the promotional materials they sent out. BBC Worldwide are referring to it as Series 7 Part 2. Now, it would be quite a simple thing for the people to speak to one another and decide what they want to call it.
Well, apparently it's BBC TV speaking English, whereas BBC Worldwide speaking American.
Interesting. 7B.
It is a series, not a season. And especially if you're breaking it up as the way it is, it can't be called a season, can it?
They should have just called it Series 8.
They should have just called it Series 8 or Series 34.
But then we would have people going, why are they now truncating the seasons or whatever, you know?
Because they want to get so much quality into a smaller space.
Right.
As I said to my second wife. So you were going to move us on there. So.
Yes. So in this episode, we're looking back at William Hartnell, which will be the first of a series of Talking Who's where we'll focus on one Doctor at a time up until the 50th. And so this episode is our William Hartnell episode.
Excellent. I came to William Hartnell, the first one I saw was before the Five Doctors BBC Two screened what they called the Five Faces of Doctor Who.
Yes.
Which is a brilliant introduction to Doctor Who. And they showed an unearthly child, which was my introduction to Billy H, as I now call him. I was slightly shocked to see him looking slightly different in the Five Doctors. But when I rediscovered Doctor Who in the 90s, buying VHSs and also taping off of UK Gold, I really got into Billiam
Hartnell.
I'm doing a Billy Fluff. I really get into him, and he's one of my favourite Doctors. I rate him higher than Colin Baker.
I can think of at least 10 actors I can rate higher than Colin Baker.
And one of them's in this room.
Come on, Colin Baker fans, start putting your comments in. Defend your Doctor.
He was the first. I mean, whatever your feelings was,
he was Doctor Who.
He was the first Doctor Who. He created the role, and I actually think.
What was your first William Hartnell story?
I was actually exactly the same as Cameron. I actually saw the first story. I was at the second ever Doctor Who convention by the Doctor Who Appreciation Society, I think back in 77 or 78, and it was held at a university in West London. And
West London had a university?
It's just by Hyde Park, that university there. Okay. I think it was at college, I don't know, but anyway, it's mists of time for me. But I remember on the Saturday night, they screened on a big screen the first 5 episodes of Doctor Who.
Wow.
They said something like they had to get the rights through the BBC, permission off all the actors, but because there wasn't, they just wanted an unearthly child, but because there wasn't any other guest stars in the first episode of the Daleks, they could screen that as well, because they already had the permission from and so that was my first. I've got to say that An Unearthly Child as a piece of television still holds up today. It's that first episode.
Well, I think the first episode,
it's an amazing introduction to the show. And actually, when you look at the set of the TARDIS, the way for a BBC show on that budget at the time. My one issue with Hartnell's story, not so much Hartnell himself, but Hartnell's stories, is I feel they're the one era of Doctor Who that's aged very badly, and it's not a thing on that era of Doctor Who so much as just television from that.
It's just
era
how
itself.
they produce TV.
It's less trying to be like cinema on television and more like trying to be theatre on television.
That was the style.
Very slowly paced, very set bound, very long scenes, and it isn't until like season 3 suddenly it picks up. I mean, from what I've seen, I've got to say, I wish I could see all of the Dalek Master Plan. The 3 surviving episodes of that are brilliant. And when you look at stuff like the War Machines and the Ark, they're a lot more even the gunfighters, which everybody lambasts, they're a lot more pacier, a lot more getting into what modern type television is. But you know, he's very grumpy,
which he would be
very playful. Well. I mean, we're going to be talking about the Reign of Terror in that, but in a minute. But I've got to say, I mean, watching that the other week, it was such a joy watching the scenes of him trying to bluff his way into the Bastille.
Yeah.
Or when he's talking with the clothes, the tailor he's getting the clothes off, and it's just scenes like that. There's this real playfulness to it that you really can actually feel. He's an old man, but he's got a very youthful heart, and he just doesn't take any crap off anybody.
He doesn't, no, absolutely.
Are we allowed to say crap?
Say whatever we want.
Oh. Yeah, I think he's brilliant. Strangely, I'm doing this top 50 Doctor Who stories of all time on Doctor Who, one each week. And I'm a huge Hartnell fan. Top 5 Doctors, easy. But yeah, when I came to do this top 50, there was only 2 of his stories in there. I felt really disappointed by it, but I couldn't pick stories that
I'd agree with what you say there, because when I watch Hartnell stuff, I find I can't watch it all together at once. It's just too. I could sit down and watch. I did on the weekend. Watched all 4 episodes of The Ark in Space, no problem. If I'm watching a Hartnell story, I have to watch an episode and then leave it because it's just too slow. And I also have to say, another problem in the Hartnell stories is the quality of guest stars is terrible. The supporting it gets much better as the show becomes more popular, is less seen as a children's show. But in a lot of the early stories, some of the guest stars are.
But also a lot of those actors, and you know, they're all theatre actors, and some of them are doing television for the first time.
Yes.
You know,
but they're not. You know, I mean, wasn't it really the first time they had like a big name guest star on the show was when they had. What's the name? Scareth the Jaggeroth as Richard III, and that was like the turning point, as it were, in terms of actors on. And then Peter Butterworth as the meddling monk.
And Bernard Breslauer as well.
But during the first season, it's some of the supporting acting, not from the leads, but the support. Although, you know, but I mean, the male leads are pretty good. But anyway, but some of the supporting work is pretty. Yeah. But you can't fault Bill Hartnell. I mean, and he definitely brought something. I don't think, whatever you might say about the Daleks or any other aspect of the show, I don't think Doctor Who would be here now if Bill Hartnell hadn't set the template for all the others to follow.
Yes, well, that's without a doubt. The fact that the show was successful, that they thought we had to work a way to continue this without him because he can't do it anymore, just shows you how.
Wasn't it more they couldn't work with him anymore?
Anyway, we've got tweets. Jenny, who is Bluebox99, says, my first William Hartnell adventure was The Keys of Marinus. I still love it. Okay. Actually, my first one was...
we didn't ask you.
Yes.
Anyway, the keys of Marinus, it's got a very sexual feel to it, the Vords.
Yeah, all their rubber.
Rubber outfits.
I still find it hysterical when I look at the Vord, though, and they were expecting them to take over from the Daleks. It's like,
but it's a great story, Keys of Marinus. Actually,
Keys of Marinus actually works as a 6-parter when so many of them don't, because they're often a different location every year. They actually one of the few Hartnell ones which does move at a good pace. I mean, you watch the Daleks; it's a brilliant story, but really it should have been 4 episodes. You know.
Well, I would say even in this, people may spit at the computer screen when I say this, but even I think Genesis of the Daleks suffers from toing and froing too much. I think you could have snipped an episode or 2 quite easily off that.
No, that's true. I think I agree.
Did you ever hear that when truth to the story that when they were supposed to do the Dalek master plan, they were waiting for the scripts off Terry Nation when they finally got it, and it was kind of like a week before filming and the sets are built and they're getting frantic where are the scripts, and it turns up, and for 12 episodes he sends them 20 pages of script and that's it. And
then times have changed.
and then the story on, what was it, on Genesis of the Daleks, Terry Nation was told to write Genesis of the Daleks, because when he actually handed in the story for that Dalek one, they went, this is very nice, but this is the same story you've done like about 5 times.
Sorry, Ellis, we talked over your ramblings. You were saying something about your favourite William Hartnell one?
No, my first one was, I think it was actually The Chase, which was, I saw at an NFT screening.
I was at that NFT screening, for the 20th anniversary?
I think it was something like that,
Was it the 25th anniversary?
Yes. Or 30th maybe, 30th anniversary.
Yeah. And all I can remember was when
that was the first Hartnell you saw, 93.
It was before DVD. I
don't think I got a VHS of the Daleks until after that.
I think it was the 20th anniversary because at that point there was very little VHS available.
There was mostly all Tom Baker stuff in the late 80s. You know. and some Peter Davison
But
stuff. There wasn't that much of the older
actually, I do
stuff.
remember when we were watching that on the big screen. It was on the big MFT screen, and when they got to Mechanis, and they show you that clip of a model of Mechanis and a model Mechanoid going across the bridge, and it's kind of like it looks fine on TV, but you put that up on a big screen, and the audience was of die-hard Doctor Who fans was still hooting with laughter.
Well,
at
that was a thing that happened at the Tomb of the Cybermen screening at the BFI recently. Some people were laughing in the audience at the production values, which I thought was slightly disrespectful. So don't do it.
The only thing I can actually think of which is bad in Tomb of the Cybermen is when Toberman gets picked up and there's wires all over the place and it's speeded up.
Well, there's a few.
There's terrible dubbing of ooh over it, and
there's a few heightened performances, I would say, in that too.
There's quite a few in that one actually. The sets and production of that one is probably some of the best of the Troughton that survives.
Do you have any more comments?
We do have comments. Kyle Darkwelder in Twitter says William Hartnell doesn't get nearly enough respect that he deserves. He wasn't just the one that started it, he was amazing.
Yes.
Seb Ranson says love the first Doctor. Hartnell is very watchable, great little mannerisms and a cheeky fun side to him as well as being grumpy. PC Jonathan says his episodes were dreadfully slow. That combined with a lot of being recons make his era extremely hard to watch. And continues saying, according to the first 50th ebook, Hartnell's left hand wasn't his own for his entire TV run. Anyone else not like this?
What?
Pardon? Say that again.
I'm really confused.
I haven't read that ebook.
Hartnell's left hand wasn't his own for his entire TV run.
Right. I mean, that seems like an awful euphemism. His left hand wasn't his own.
What did he have? A left hand surgically grafted on?
Was he like?
Did he have a left hand? Did he have a left hand double or something?
But in Celestial Toymaker, it's his right hand that gets replaced because he wasn't there. There was someone else playing his right hand.
Yeah,
I'm not sure about the left hand.
That's the interesting thing about Hartnell stories is it seems in every story at least one of the cast was on holiday for one episode. So for every episode there's for some reason one character doesn't appear in it.
We're about to shoot this.
They're in a cage.
Well, I'm off for 2 weeks now.
And you just see their hand coming out, or it's.
But then you think, how long were these production schedules?
Yeah.
Because
there used to be 45 episodes a year.
Yeah. BBC 45 a year. What do we get now? 5. 6 if we're lucky. I'm joking, of course. I was just playing the outraged fan there. He does, in fact, have a little. Does Billy have a nap in Reign of Terror for an episode?
It's actually what's his name?
We're going to talk about the Reign of Terror in a sec, aren't we?
Yeah.
So.
It's Ian Chesterton.
It's Ian that has a nap, yeah.
But although they actually filmed some inserts. So it doesn't look quite as bad as it does in some episodes, but
he does. William Hartnell does go on holiday during Reign of Terror because they have a replacement doing the walking along the country roads and stuff while he's away, and they just extend it as long as they can.
That was the first bit of location filming on Doctor Who.
Yeah, it's quite beautiful. So do you want us to talk about Reign of Terror?
So let us talk about the Reign of Terror.
Oh.
And we also have this picture to show as well.
No, that's from the animation. Well, let's talk about the story itself.
That's actually
first.
It looks like animation of a scene that actually still exists.
That was one of their test pictures.
Right.
That's not the actual from the actual.
The
Reign of Terror.
Thoughts on the story first.
Actually, I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to. I mean,
no, I agree with that. I actually was really pleased with it.
Usually, the idea of a historical story as a William Hartnell story, you think this is going to really creak and go at a very slow pace. It certainly does have some pacing problems, but it's got some scenes which absolutely shine out. The first episode's great. The first episode goes along at a cracking pace.
As always with Doctor Who, the first episode is always the best.
The first episode goes along at a cracking pace. I oddly read a few reviews in magazines like SFX and stuff like that, where they were complaining that it expected you to know a bit too much about the history, and I'm like, I had no problems. I'm like, I was a bit surprised at that. Do people not know who Robespierre was? People hadn't heard of the Reign of Terror or the French Revolution. I was a bit surprised.
This DVD, as I've discussed before, this DVD sort of comes out just a few weeks after Les Miserables is out, and God knows how many people have actually watched Les Miserables. So there should be some knowledge.
But
because of the song that's in this, is that why? That amazing song, Nelson.
I've got to say that we were saying about Bill Hartnell, I thought he had some fantastic. He
has some great scenes
really elevates this story.
Yes.
And he wears a hat.
I think it's great. He carries it off with real aplomb. The scenes of him in the Bastille trying to bluff his way in there are the highlight of the story to me. The scenes with Barbara and Susan when they've been I could have happily edited them, or like they just yes. But overall, I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to.
I actually thought it's great. I really really love this one, and I'm a fan of the historical ones anyway. And I know people.
Is it because you love that same?
I love history. I love history. I love history.
But
I do love that particular period. 18th century was a period that I studied at school as well, so I do have some knowledge of it.
Was that back in the 18th century?
No.
It was called Modern Studies.
Modern Study.
This is nice. This release, we've got now all the surviving episodes of season one.
Yeah.
It's just a shame. I mean, really, actually, on your shelf, season one's virtually complete
just
now.
without Marco Polo.
Just the Marco Polo.
Well, to entertain, are we going to get a season 1 box set? So the animated episodes.
The animation is far more. I cannot watch recon when the fans do these recons of just photos stuck up there. I can't watch that. I find them absolutely interminable.
But good for you to try and do it. It's a great way to express yourself.
Yeah. The animation's not, unfortunately, on the level of Invasion that came out a few. That was understandable. I mean, that was. I don't understand how. It was the BBC website which had money to get Cosgrove Hall to do this, and apparently it was very expensive, and it wasn't something that is really affordable for BBC.
Which is why there was such a big gap between the Invasion and this.
You want to know something? It works. One of my other big problems was the style of the animation. Not so much the style of the animation itself, but the way it was edited was at complete odds with the remaining episodes. And it was almost like they'd felt when doing, and I've read, if you look at the original camera scripts, if in a scene there's like 5 camera changes, in the scene when they animate it there's 30 camera changes. And
there was one scene which had such quick cuts. You think
which was actually completely, which is fine if they'd animated all 6 episodes and it was all in that style. But when you've watched 3 episodes in which is very slow camera cuts, very long camera holding on, and then suddenly there was especially the scene when they're having the fight in the prison when they're Ian and there's the gunfight going on, which is like that was just completely separated it from the style of the existing episodes.
And I kind of detected also sort of repetitive shots of characters.
Well, that happens a lot in animation. I mean, just
try it here. We can just like repeat.
Just watch the old Filmation episodes of Star Trek or something.
Oh no, but that's the 1960s. We're not talking about the 1960s now, which everything has to be hand drawn. We're talking about someone pressing a few buttons on a computer.
Yeah.
Now they're just pressing a repeat button. Is a bit of a cheat.
On the DVD, there are some extras as always.
The extras are always. I mean, Doctor Who fans, I think we've been incredibly spoiled. Yeah. When you look at any other, no other show has the kind of quality of extras that you get on Doctor Who classic. I'm going to actually quite emphasise this classic, because I think the releases of new Doctor Who should have a look at what's being done with. I find it very disappointing.
Yeah, BBC.
The release of new Doctor Who stuff is more in line with all other shows, but classic Doctor Who really they do push the boat out.
So here we have a documentary called "Don't Lose Your Head."
Yeah,
great little doc. Not little, that was slightly patronising. Great doc, full stop. And it's a great story behind the making of, because of course the director had quite a lot of problems.
Yes.
The fact that he couldn't speak English very well. And none of the cast could understand what he was actually saying.
I don't think he'd actually directed television before either.
And he obviously felt the pressure. And you've got William Russell there and Caroline Ford. And Tim Coombe as well. He's a great interviewee. Lovely to hear him chat. It's a great documentary, very stylish, and it's a great story to tell.
I mean, it's always whenever there is a new Doctor Who release. I mean, even when I got bought Trial of a Time Lord, which is episodes I just can't physically sit down and watch again.
Colin Baker's really coming in for it tonight.
It's not Colin Baker. This is John Nathan Turner and Pip and Jane Baker and everybody else and Michael Grade.
But you're bringing him into it.
He's one who cancelled the original season 21, which would have had Ice Warriors and Autons in it.
Well,
but
Colin Baker.
Yeah, but the extras are always fantastic.
But it should be said here, there's slightly less than normal because, of course, there's the animated episodes. So
the animated episodes and a lot of people involved in it are now dead.
But not a documentary about the animation.
No, well, a guy in a computer presses 3.
There was a story behind it, though. You know, him making the...
You want to know something? It'll be the same story for each animation one. So the next time you see 2 entertain people at one of my conventions, you can say to them, idea for a documentary about the animation, and they can stick it on the moon base or the 10th Planet
maybe
DVD.
for the Ice Warriors.
Maybe for the Ice Warriors or whatever.
There's a set tour, a virtual set of the animated episodes, which it's nice, it's pretty, but you're hardly coming back to it.
I think the highlight of the extras is actually the photo gallery on this one, because you look at some of the colour photographs from behind the scenes are stunning, and you think, God, if this could have been colorized in a way or something. If they'd just shot this on film and they could have just gone back to negatives and put it out in colour, it would have looked amazing.
It's funny you mention the photo gallery, because whenever I do reviews, I always mention the photo gallery if it's good, because I think some people will not look at a photo gallery.
No, I've never looked at the photo gallery before. This was actually one of the first times.
It's brilliant. It's a brilliant source.
I always look, first thing, if it's a Peter Davidson one, straight onto the photo gallery, see if there's any pictures of Tegan in a short skirt.
That's misogynistic. I'm leaving. There's a great commentary.
Sometimes you got pictures of Turlo in his shorts on there as well.
Turlo's a very attractive boy. There's a great commentary on it.
Oh, wait. Wayne Tillett is saying, I'm dropping Blog to Who on Twitter for all of his number 6 hate.
I'm not he's not the one who said anything. It's been me saying. And I'll say this on number 6. I think Colin Baker could have made a great Doctor if he'd been given scripts and had decent directors.
And not J&T producing, probably.
Yeah, you want to know something? If J&T and Eric Savard had quit when Peter Davison regenerated, everybody would say they were great producers, great writer, who saved Doctor Who and revamped the show.
Peter Davison, greatest Doctor ever.
And... yeah.
Don't you want to pick him for one of your shows, no?
I wouldn't mind his daughter coming along to one of my shows.
Glad you finished that sentence. The commentary track on Reign of Terror, it's good. It's one of these rolling ones where they have different people popping in for, so it's got a very fresh feel every episode, which is really nice.
Well, sometimes you got somebody who can tell a good story for who's in one episode or one scene and has a story to tell.
Yeah.
But otherwise, they're going to be sitting around doing nothing.
And there's a really nice,
which is actually usually what happens when Tom Baker's doing the commentary.
He hasn't done one for a while though.
I don't know whether that's because of that or...
we've made the money sign.
Or is it because if you watch or listen to certain documentaries, it's almost like he hasn't watched the episode in 20 years. And all you just hear is going, ooh, that's good.
Who's that?
That was good.
She's nice. But there's a great commentary here from the guys who found the episodes and restored. It's a great story there. Overall, guys,
I'd give it a 7 out of 10.
You know what? I think this is a good one, and I think I would like to hope that some Doctor Who fans would want to buy this, because I think the more people who buy these animated ones, the more chance we'll actually get more other animated ones. And there are some cracking stories out there which would be great to animate, but you have to go and support the ones that they release.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is a great... I actually love it. I love this one. This is good.
I'm indifferent. So, but as always with any Doctor Who DVD, you should buy it. If you're a Doctor Who fan of any description.
But plus also, if you are a Doctor Who... If you're not one of these people who's just purely into New Who, if you're a fan of classic Doctor Who, this is actually the first time in a long time there are episodes on here you weren't previously on.
Yeah.
They weren't on DVD. They haven't been available before. But it's almost like it's as close as we're probably going to get to those. I would love them to find a horde of more missing episodes, but as each year goes by, it becomes more and more unlikely. So as Elazar said, we have to support, I want to see, we've got the Ice Warriors, we've got the 10th Planet. I hope they'd animate what's left of the Crusade and the Underwater Menace and Moonbase.
There's so many stories.
Well, those three I feel are both, with the amount of episodes that are left, are in a condition where you could do a certain amount of animation as well and then have a nice, decent episode.
But it's a great package, Reign of Terror.
3 Oranges says, I will buy any animated episodes, especially if they look as good as 10th Planet is looking.
10th Planet is looking good. It's out on November.
Right.
For the anniversary.
I haven't seen
any photos
of that,
yeah.
So
okay. There's also Reign of Terror is out on DVD, but the next Hartnell one coming out is the Aztecs.
Yes. Which has actually been previously released.
Yes.
This is a re-release, but it's actually, they've been doing these special editions. Which it almost feels like I'm paying £20 for a 30-minute documentary, but I do it anyway. In some cases, they've apparently have made the picture quality look a bit better, or in some of the cases of the John Pertwee episodes, used a different technique on replacing the colour. But this actually, the Aztecs is going to be an important one because you've also got Galaxy 4.
Yeah, well,
on there as well.
I had a great moment that hasn't happened in many, many years. I saw new Doctor Who because I hadn't seen Galaxy 4, and so this for the first time maybe since the last VHS release in the late 90s, early 2000s. So for the first time in 10 years, I'd actually watched new Doctor Who, which was Galaxy 4, and it was a great experience seeing New Who, and Galaxy 4 is quite an interesting story.
Well, I've listened to the CD of Galaxy 4. And
you haven't watched the DVD?
I don't own it yet because it hasn't actually come out
yet.
Not all of us are on a list that get preview copies sent to them by BBC Worldwide.
Apparently with it, you got your 25 minutes of Galaxy 4, but then there's apparently 35 to 40 minutes of a mixture of photos and animation.
Yes.
And how does that work?
I think it works really well because the animation works very well on the Chumbly.
Chumbly.
Now, Chumbly's one of those many monsters like the Vords and the War Machines that were supposed to replace the Daleks.
I'm sure Stephen Moffat's thinking, Chumblies, eh? But when it comes to they use archive pictures and things. For me, it works because it's nice. It tells a story, and it's great to see New Who. So it's nice as an extra rather than the main feature because they can't really get away with saying this is the main feature, but I would wager that people.
Well, I enjoyed the one they did for Marco Polo before, which was about 30 minutes long, I think, wasn't it? About 35 minutes long.
Going back to what you said about Galaxy 4, I was saying that to you earlier. I actually was surprised that they released that as a disc with the Aztecs. I actually think they could have got away. I would have happily bought it. So I then would have had the separate slipcase on my shelf with Galaxy 4 on it. You can
still make it.
Yeah.
Do we have the DVD list of extras there, Elsa?
We do. I've got it on my iPad.
Because it's a 2-disc, the Aztecs.
Yes.
And so Galaxy 4 is credited as an extra.
Yeah, we've got obviously commentary with William Russell and Caroline
Ford.
So
that's basically the same. That's the one we have. But we've now got Remembering the Aztecs.
Again, it's the second disc that has all the new stuff on it. Because it's got the old TARDIS cam. It has an episode of a children's TV series, Making Coco. Oh no. An animated guide.
Making Coco, an animated guide to making cocoa the Aztec way.
Fantastic! I'm so glad on that.
There is
presented in a South Park style. Okay.
There's also a documentary about the Aztecs, which is tedious beyond belief. But if you're interested in that kind of thing, great.
So what do you think of the actual story itself?
The
Aztecs.
Well, before I talk about it, there's a great little feature on here, where it's archival material from the Dalek movies. Which got so it's an interview with Gordon Fleming, father of Jason Fleming, fact fans, and so it's him talking about the Dalek movies, and it's interesting because he talks about how people make message films, but he's just making like fun films because he wants to, and I think there's another archival BBC show as well. But we'll maybe come to that later.
A Cortez and the Montezuma.
Blue Peter.
It's from Blue Peter. With good old Valerie Singleton.
Yeah. So the story...
You know what I was saying about Reign of Terror when the SFX review and several other magazines and online reviews... Are you being
sponsored by SFX?
No, I'm not. It's certainly not. But when a lot of the reviews when the Reign of Terror came out were going on, it expected you to have they felt it expected you to have a certain level of historical knowledge already.
Yes.
The Aztecs, I feel, is the exact opposite. It almost feels like the story's secondary. It's like, this is the Aztec civilization, and this is what they do, and blah. And it's a bit of an educational
it's kind of like they remembered she was a teacher.
Yes.
And thought, a teacher. It's interesting. It's just her and Susan at the start.
This is Barbara's story. This one, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah.
And I have to say, I absolutely adore Barbara. She's amazing. She's one of my favourite companions. Her and Ian together.
It always used to get me, and this is the first. Is this the first one where sort of like they would go to these ancient cultures or whatever, whether it was the Aztecs or whether it was during the episodes of the Crusades, and suddenly it turns out that Ian's a dab hand. He's not just a school teacher; he's a bit of a warrior as well. He can put on some armour, pick up a sword, and he can fight trained people who've been.
He read it in a history book, you know. Yeah. It's quite easy to pick these things up.
In the 60s, anything was possible. I mean, in the 60s, people thought school teachers were proper heroes. Not like these days, huh?
Yes,
thanks
indeed.
Tony Blair. But it's again, there's some very stagey moments in the Aztec.
Yes.
But I think the core crew of them, if maybe, and no disrespect to Susan Carolyn Ford, it's not one of her better performances.
The look of the episode's fantastic. The story is fantastic.
Production design.
I mean, it seems to me. I'm going to discount the Last Christmas special, but any time they did a story set in Earth's history. So if it's set in the future, BBC have got problems on sets and costumes. If it's set in the past, suddenly you've got something which can beat anything, and it still looks pretty good.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't have the DVD to do this to, and say
no.
But you can CG that.
Well, you have a picture. We have a picture.
I do.
We have this picture.
But it's as a release. I'm not the special editions. I have slight problems with, but I suppose you can sell your old copy and buy a new
I like the special editions simply because you don't have to buy them if you don't want to.
This is the thing that fans often complain about.
You don't have to buy them, and I have to say, by and large, the extras on a lot of them have been great, and I've really enjoyed them. There's been only one or two that I've been disappointed with in terms of the additions on them. And I think, was it Revelation or Remembrance? What was the Peter Davison Dalek? Resurrection. And you've been getting close.
Both wrong.
On Resurrection, I was hoping for a documentary on that one, and there wasn't any. Instead, it was just the episodes again, but as single parters instead of a two-parter. And but by and large, they've been really good extras. I think the only complaint that fans can come out with is the delay on stories that haven't been released.
Well, it's strategic. One feature I did forget to mention is there's a new series that started on the Ark in Space. They looked at the new Adventures books and the BBC books. This time they're looking at the toys from Doctor Who. So you have various Doctor Who fans, famous and writers and people on the show talking about Doctor Who toys. So it's rather good.
But I think wasn't it the Three Doctors special edition which actually dropped an extra from the original release?
From a convention. John Pertwee
so
a convention or something.
That's one of those sort of ones you actually have to buy both. Keep both discs on your shelf.
I heard, I don't know if there's any truth to this or not.
So can you put a rumour on that?
Rumour alert that they're not allowed to mention conventions or anything that's kind of like really not official.
Wow.
On the DVDs.
Now, in case you don't know, Sean, you organise conventions.
But only very recently. I mean, for somebody who's been buying the DVDs for about 10 or 15 years. But then again, I don't, because I heard this, because there was a story I heard a few years back that Panopticon were going to gear all their guest talks around a story, and then BBC would film that guest talk and stick it as an extra.
Is that still a rumour?
Well, that's 10 years ago, so that's gone nowhere. But
everyone's dead.
But before we talk about conventions, let's round off our William Hartnell section.
Yep.
With Annie Fairfoul's video tribute to Billy Hartnell, the First Doctor. So say hello to Annie.
Hey, Annie.
Hello, Elazar, Sean, Whovians, all. Happy 50th! I have 4 minutes to get through the entire Hartnell era, so here we go. The first fluff. And it wasn't Billy's?
It's John Smith and the Carmen. They've gone from 2 to 19 to 2 in the hit grade. Not bad.
Very first Dalek sighting. You'd shriek too if somebody came at your face with a toilet plunger. First TARDIS takeoff. The landing was a knockout. See? Now here comes trouble.
I won't let you do this.
If, of course, they'd like to confess to me what they have done to my ship, I may even change my mind.
What was that? The danger signal.
The port dictator!
Ouch! Glad she switched up to the cloister bell. But they did save the day. In their snugglies.
We're safe now. Are you sure?
Yes, you can all relax. We're quite safe now.
Snugglies just kills me. Anyway, moving on. You thought Captain Jack and River Song were dealing with new technology? Not so.
The principle is much the same as that of your ship. Place that around your wrist, please. You told me about, except that this will enable you to cross space, not time.
What? This little thing? Oh, don't be ridiculous, my boy. This is a perfectly acceptable method of travel. Very compact and very neat, sir, if I may say. Yes.
They're all programmed to the same destination. You have only to twist the dial once.
Like this? Barbara!
And I hate to break it to you, but Rose was not the Doctor's first.
Oh, sweet favored man, you have declared your love for me, and I acknowledge and accept your gentle proposal.
Where did you get hold of this?
My fiancée.
I see. Your what?
Yes, I made some cocoa and got engaged.
Oh, don't giggle, my boy. It's neither here nor there. That was a very brave thing for you to do, Commander. But you can't stay here.
I'd hoped I might stay by your side. And think of me. Think of me.
Oh, that man can break my heart in any incarnation. But next, you're all aware of William Hartnell's famous Billy Fluffs. What you're not aware of is how smoothly he could get out of them.
Told us you were going away? Oh, well, I don't know that I was under any obligation to report my movements to you, Chesterfield.
Chesterton.
Oh, Barbara's calling you.
Now, take a close look at the upper right-hand corner of your screens. The Daleks brought camera number 5 to help destroy the Doctor.
Circle the cave, take a position amongst the boulders, and cut off any attempt to escape. We obey!
Here's a man who needs no introduction.
Well, quite so. Allow me, sir, to introduce Miss Dodo Dupont, Wizard of the Ivory Keys, and Stephen Regret, tenor, and lastly, sir, your humble servant, Dr. Gary.
Doctor Who?
Yes, you're quite right.
So there you have it. A big thanks to Mr. William Hartnell, wherever you are, for opening that blue box for us nearly 50 years ago. Annie Fairfoul, out.
There we go. Thank you very much, Annie.
Thank you, Annie.
And you can follow her on Twitter, Annie Fairfoul.
So that was our roundup of Billy Hartnell, the best Doctor ever.
I think definitely.
Well, definitely the first Doctor.
He's up there. It you know what? Whenever there's a DVD release, it's always a time to be really excited. Like, I want that DVD. It's one of the ones that you just want to have straight away.
I was just wondering. I just had a flashback to remembering the episode "The Brain of Morbius," and I'm running for the 50th anniversary. Are they going to be bringing back Philip Hinchcliffe?
Yes, and all the other
Terence Dix and all these
people.
other people who were doctors even further back than Bill Hartnell.
I think people recognise that probably wasn't. Yeah. But yeah, I love Billy Hartnell. Next time we'll be talking about Patrick Troughton. Sorry, Troughton.
Troughton.
Yeah.
Troughton.
Patrick Troughton.
Who a lot of people like, but I'm not so keen. No? Okay.
Well, okay, so Cameron, you've got some news.
Yes, I do have news. Those who follow me on Blogger Who, or even my personal account, Cameron Kewan, will know that I announced recently that I have been approached by a publisher, a US publisher, Racepoint Publishing, back in January, and we've signed the deal. So I am writing a Doctor Who non-fiction book for release in November, and it's going to be called The Who's Who of Doctor Who. So very exciting.
Will there be a section about Talking Who in this Who's Who? Because I think perhaps there could be.
Yes. It's about the people in the show.
Right, okay.
The fictional people in the show.
Ah, right, okay.
And although you two are very fictional, I mean, I don't believe you could exist in the real world.
So it's a non-fiction book about fictional people.
Yes, it is. It is. Wow, I just realised. So I'm very excited to be doing that, and I hope you all buy a copy and line my pockets with money. No, but no, I'm joking, of course. So it's coming out later this year for the 30th, and it will be completely up to date. It will have Series 8, or as we call it, Series 7B, and it'll have all the news from there. So it'll be up to date.
Or Series 33.
Yeah, or if you want to be old-fashioned. Yeah. So that's very exciting, and thanks for all the kind words. But Sean, I believe you've also got some news regarding...
Yes, I'm running a convention in June.
Return to the 11th hour.
Be the third Doctor Who event that I have run. We had David Tennant and Billy Piper at the last one, and Matt Smith at the previous one. And for this one, take place in June at the Birmingham for 3 days. And we've got Karen Gillan is currently the headline guest.
She was Amy Pond in Doctor Who, I believe.
Some of our older fans may remember.
Back in the day.
She now lives in Los Angeles, so you won't be seeing her at many UK cons.
So is this the only UK con she's doing at the moment?
Well, that's what her management tell me, but managements have a habit of telling you things like, this is their only UK convention, or this is their last ever convention, then suddenly 3 months later something else gets announced. So you'd never want to advertise something like that, and then suddenly unless it's kind of like actually in the contract itself, you don't want to get into...
Just about the books.
Oh yes.
Stuart Wareham says, will there be a section about Colin Baker?
Of course.
He was the 10th Doctor, wasn't he? Yeah, of course there'll be sections on.
And Annie Fairfoul says, I'll attempt to change your mind on Troughton, Pat Cameron.
I mean, I'm an old man. I don't need my mind changed on Troughton. So back to
Star Fury.
Yes.
So Karen Gillan.
Karen Gillan's coming.
Fantastic.
She'll be a great guest.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would love to meet her.
We've also got, who you may have seen our previous event, Neve McIntosh and Simon Fisher Becker.
Now they're
star of Threesome, the web series.
Yep. Neve McIntosh was a brilliant guest, and we did an interview with her, and she was brilliant. I loved her.
Well, I don't think I would say Neve was a brilliant guest. I'd say she was just a brilliant person.
Yeah, she's amazing
all round.
She's very attractive, and very talented.
She's quite Scottish.
Yes,
she's one of those people, a bit like when we had at Midnight with Eve Miles.
She was brilliant.
That you just need along at a convention because they're just so much fun. They just keep the party going. They're at
Sometimes
the disco. They're in the bar.
No, she was great, and she was great. I met her a couple of weeks ago at a BBC drama.
Who, Neve or Eve? Oh, Eve, yes.
I'll stop there. And Simon Fisher Becker. He's really good as well.
We've got Anna Marie Marinka
from
Asylum of the Daleks.
Darla?
Yes, Darla was her character. This will be her first convention.
Nice.
Yes.
Caitlin
Blackwood. Yes. Who is young Amy Pond and was the first person to interact with Matt Smith on the show. And we've also got Gary Russell coming along.
Lovely Gary Russell.
Yes.
He's lots of fun.
Who's actually the ultimate fanboy who's managed to turn it into a career.
I know, he's good. I love Gary.
There's actually something very interesting on Doctor Who when you look at people like Gary Russell, and Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss and Russell T Davies more than any other show.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you've got people from fandom that have actually started actually making the show.
Someone should make a documentary about that, shouldn't they?
Yes, good idea.
And we've also got I can't remember his name now. David Bradley.
Whoa!
Is it?
Whoa!
Whoa!
That wasn't on your website.
No,
breaking news.
Yeah.
Can we get breaking news? This is breaking news.
Well, it's not officially being announced, so he's not going on the website till Friday. So here you are, a Talking Who exclusive.
Wow.
For you. He's going to do a banner. He's going to do.
So this is exclusive news. David Bradley.
Yes, who of course is actually perfect episode to announce it at, because he's playing Billy Hartnell.
Yeah.
In an Adventures in Time and Space.
Oh, no, it's an Adventure in Space and Time.
Space and Time. Now, did they get that title from the cover of the Doctor Who and the Daleks book?
Yeah, it's not what it said in the Radio Times, though. Is that not how it was spelled?
Or was it built? Because I just remembered on the cover of the original cover of the Doctor and the Daleks. It's Doctor and the Daleks, an adventure in space, and it had like.
Right, I thought it was the Radio Times.
Might be
building.
from the yes.
But so David Bradley also Dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs on the spaceship.
Well, I booked him because he's in Dinosaurs in the Spaceship. But when I first started talk, I found out slightly before it was announced he was going to be playing William Hartnell.
Great
as
choice.
a result of that.
I actually think it's a brilliant choice.
Yeah,
but because he's in Game of Thrones, he's in Harry Potter, he's in what's it?
He's in Broadchurch.
I was about to say from Broadchurch. David Tennant's new show, which also has Rory Arthur Darvill in it as well. So it's quite a lot, and it's written by Chris Chibnall.
Lovely
so
Chris.
Huge amount of Doctor Who connections with Broadchurch.
And it's got Olivia Colman, who was in the 11th Hour.
Yeah.
And there's possibly loads more. So that's great. David Bradley, the
Gallifrey Times says congratulations on getting David Bradley.
Yeah. Can you announce any other guests as exclusives?
I would love to, but until you have permission, until you got permission from
Just get
them,
your
you
tickets.
can get into a lot of trouble.
But I think it's safe to say that
tickets now before they sell out.
And I think. I mean, he hasn't asked me yet, but I'm hoping he's going to ask me to go.
Yeah, I did say you'll be along. Yes,
I'll
be having you. And I found that the fans do like a couple of the panels being hosted, so I'll have you hosting a few, and have Gary Russell hosting a few. It's trying to, because I find the regular conventions I do, the other ones I've been doing, like the Game of Thrones ones or the Buffy ones, stuff like that. The fans like to just ask the actors questions, but I keep on getting requests from the Doctor Who ones from moderated panels. So.
I mean, personally, I find it not because of my personal interest in moderating, but I think it's good because some people can, if there's a question from the audience, which sometimes can sometimes throw people. And if you're
like somebody asking Billy Piper and David Tennant, have you slept with each other?
No, that was so bad. But they found that quite funny.
Thank God. Actually, I just thought that Tennant's comment back at them, did John Barrowman ask you to ask that question? That kind of like made up for how inappropriate it was.
It was incredible, but thankfully they took it in good form. But Return to the Hour, can't wait. It should be great, and what a great time to have it. We've just had series Squarg, and we'll
7.5.
Yeah, and we'll
probably poor old Karen will be in tears at the time. Will be behind her. Yes. With legs like hers, nobody's going to forget about Karen
sexist remark. She's very talented.
She is.
Yeah.
She's actually making some pretty good headway into a career in the States.
She's doing a couple
as
of films.
well. Yes, just done a film with Katie Sackhoff. And you got Matt Smith about to do a film with Christina Hendricks.
That's right.
And directed by
Gosling.
Gosling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Which, so he's filming the 50th anniversary, then going away again after a 4-month break, and then coming back to do possibly a Christmas special, possibly
I think that's to do with giving some time to somebody to actually get around to writing those specials.
Who could say?
Yes.
Who could possibly say? Looking forward to the 50th though. It's going to be a great feature-length special.
I'm quite sure right now the BBC are on the phone to their agent going, can we please have those Doctor Who scripts and those Sherlock scripts as well if you've got them?
Well, the 50th anniversary starts filming within a couple of weeks.
It's within 2 weeks' time, yeah.
So
it'll be interesting once the 50th starts filming, how much they're going to be able to keep a lid
Well, I mean, if any outdoor scene, obviously,
any location filming, they're going to be completely.
Location filming will reveal Eccleston and Tennant. Straight away. Paul McGann, he's in the beginning talking about the Time War, and then the Rani appears. Who knew?
Who knew about that?
Yeah, that's one who's been rude. Wasn't Gillian Anderson was supposed to play the Rani in the
End of Time,
forever.
wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I did a story about that actually.
It was actually on IMDb, which is like the source.
I loved
for
it.
all.
What was it like? I think for 72 hours. For the last episode, Christopher Eccleston's last episode, for 72 hours on IMDb, they listed Tom Cruise as the Mox of Balloon.
Well, it's believable. Speaking about people returning, and if we can go back to Series 7, the BBC also officially announced that Richard E. Grant is back in Series 7 Part 2. Which I thought was incredible. I thought, shouldn't they be keeping that quiet? Because there was rumours that he
we all know already that Madame Vastra and her team are back. And
so would it be Richard E. Grant, the early years?
If it wasn't for the fact of Moffat having both Doctor Who and Sherlock to play with, and when you consider the BBC doesn't have Torchwood and doesn't have Sarah Jane anymore, it's almost like the Madame Vastra thing is already set, tailor-made and ready to go. I was speaking with Dan at midnight about this.
Dan Starkey.
Yeah. And because the thing is, from what I understand, at the BBC, the big question at the moment is, if they did a show, how do you go with it? You could make this as like the Sarah Jane Adventures, make it as a CBeebies show, or make it like Torchwood and put it on BBC Three and make it more adult. You could actually go either.
Yeah, you could, or you could.
I'm sure Jenny and Vastra's relationship is hanging in the balance now on which way the show, which area the show goes to.
Yeah, the phrase is on the tip of my tongue. I would love to see Team Vastra, but they're in 2 episodes.
Yes.
And Richard E. Grant's back, so I wonder if the Great Intelligence and Sir Ian McKellen will be back.
The thing about the Great Intelligence, when that was introduced, it was funny because when I was watching the episode, I kept on thinking, this is just like the Great Intelligence, what he's dealing with here. It's identical to it. And then suddenly it's revealed it's the Great Intelligence. At which point, instead of thinking of the similarities between it and the Great Intelligence, I started thinking about all the things of how it wasn't like the Great Intelligence.
But surely this was the Great Intelligence the early years.
I know, but
it
really actually felt to me as if Stephen Moffat was halfway through his script and went, this could actually be the Great Intelligence. It was a bit like the Macra when it turned up in that David Tennant thing.
Gridlock.
Number 40
one of your favourite stories. But it was kind of like, it was the Macra, but it wasn't like the Macra, if you know what I mean. And this was the Great Intelligence, but it wasn't like the original Great. It was not. But I also wondered how new viewers would have taken. I felt it was shoehorned in a way, not like Russell T Davies would have done it. If you knew, one thing you can't take from Russell T Davies, he was an absolute master at taking something from classic Doctor Who mythos and then presenting it to new fans, and they didn't feel like they were missing out. He perfectly would smooth the Daleks or the Cybermen or the Autons, or so in a way, because that's what they always said was the big problem with Who in the 80s, was if you weren't a hardcore fan of the show, you'd watch it going, what's this a reference to? What's that a reference to? And I did feel very much in the Christmas special, it was presented, I could see fans of New who don't watch classic stuff going, why is he referencing the London Underground? And
it did make an appearance then, so I wonder if it'll be tied up. The BBC...
wonder if we will see classic Yeti.
Yeah. Watch this space. Any more comments before we head off to our beds?
Mr. Stomping Freak is asking Omega.
I've said this for a while. It would be really
We've said
cool.
this several times on the show.
It would be. I haven't said that. I don't know if they would do it, but I think it would be really cool to have Omega as the villain in the 50th. Well, because he was the villain for the 10th anniversary, and he was the villain for the 20th anniversary.
Like Monarch of Infinity.
Yeah, but the 3 Doctors.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the 3 Doctors.
I think Omega works very well in that one, but I just think it would be a nice.
But also,
to have him as the villain. But
again, it's bringing something of mythology to the new fans who've only had a little taste of it in End of Time.
I say no.
Well, whatever you say, obviously.
Whatever you say, whatever I say doesn't matter. It's all up to what Moffat says is how it goes. Actually, he's going to bring back the Mara.
I would love to see the Mara.
I would love the Mara.
You want to know, because I was actually thinking when we talk about the Great Intelligence, most of the Doctor Who monsters which managed to make it for more than one story, for 2 or more stories, have been brought back. And the Mara were one who, they were kind of like the Peter Davison monster.
Yeah.
And they haven't been brought back, but Moffat, Peter Davison, is his era. That's his so I've been and the Mara is one that you could very easily put into new Doctor Who without, it would work very well.
Yeah. Of course, now just before anyone says, the Mara, of course, were mentioned in an episode of Torchwood. Interesting.
Yeah,
I probably wasn't awake at that point.
Wow, Torchwood fans, get them! Yeah.
So Mr. Vivian asks, what do you think of the Master not coming back anytime soon? Stephen felt the story had sort of ended with the Master for now.
You want to know something? The Master's not coming back who knows? I mean, the production team have a real habit of deliberately lying.
Yes, they do.
You're getting lots of episodes.
I would love to see.
Yes,
I would love
more
to see
episodes than ever this year.
I would love to see Omega as the villain in the 50th, but I'd actually, if I had to put money on it, if there was a returning character for the 50th, I would put money on it as John Sim as the Master.
Regenerating into Benedict Cumberbatch.
That actually I don't think would happen. Largely, I think Benedict's career is kind of like.
Well, this is his year.
Yeah.
Star Trek. And
well, have you noticed have you seen the trailer and the posters for Star Trek? It's almost like there's no Enterprise on it. They're saying nothing about Chris Pine. There's nothing about Zachary Quinto. The poster just screams, "We've got Benedict Cumberbatch in this movie!"
Yeah. Except Americans don't know him that well, do they?
You want to know something? Sherlock is hugely popular in the States,
but it's still within a particular. It's not mainstream.
It got Emmy. That's more than Doctor Who got. It got Emmy nominations. They actually had a Sherlock convention with no guests. It was like panels. They had a Sherlock convention in the States last year.
I will say he's no Johnny Lee Miller. Anyone want to comment on that?
Stuart Wareham.
I find it so funny those two were in a play together.
They were brilliant in Frankenstein.
I saw it. Stuart Wareham asks, I'm betting Blogter would love to see the Valiard back.
Yes.
There you go.
I think that we should have a close up of me going, like they did for every episode in the channel.
Gallifrey Times is asking, what type of Who related Red Nose Day feature do we think we're going to get?
When is Red Nose Day?
It's quite soon, isn't it? Yeah, is it next week?
I think we're getting all the old Doctors back.
Starting
Tom Baker, Peter Davison, Colin Baker.
They won't want to put all the They're not going to have all the Doctors together until the actual.
I bet it will just end up being like the opening scene of the new episode, and they won't have necessarily done something. I don't know. Have they actually said they've done something? I don't think. I haven't heard anything.
Did they not give you the call?
No, they never called me about
it. I mean,
they did ask Stephen Moffat if he could write a 3-minute scene for Steve at Comic Relief 2 years ago, and he should have it ready in the next decade or so.
Of course, they did Time and Space for, was it Comic Relief a few years ago?
Yes.
So,
I think they could replay Dimensions in Time.
I think that would be beautiful. Though
in 3D.
So there's copyright.
That was actually the first 3D. Actually, they can't even release that on. And they actually, Noel Edmonds cut 10 minutes out of it, which nobody's ever seen. I wonder if the archives still have it.
Noel Edmonds went snip.
He did. Part 1 was shown on Comic Relief.
That's right.
And Part 2 was shown on Noel's House Party.
Children in Need.
Whatever. And Noel Edmonds watched it and went, quite rightly, went, this is crap, and had 10 minutes cut out of it.
Noel Edmonds? Yeah. Deal or no deal, my goodness.
I just love a Doctor Who EastEnders crossover.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
It was amazing. It was amazing, and I hope that the 3D spectacular.
You want to know something? The 3D worked actually very well. If I remember, one of the few TV times when I wore those 3D glasses, it actually worked pretty well.
A little inside info into the 50th anniversary and the 3D nature of it.
Yeah.
When I was at this event with the costume designer, he said that when you film 3D, the colours are much more jaded, they're less colourful, so everything they make has to be incredibly colourful. So when people see location filming, everything might look like it's going to be a lot stranger and a lot more colourful, but that's to allow for the 3D.
It takes a lot longer to shoot in 3D. Because I had some friends who worked on the Avengers film.
Oh yeah.
And Marvel wanted Joss Whedon to shoot it in 3D. And because it basically each setup took so long, he refused to shoot it in real 3D. He said post-convert it.
Yeah.
And they called him in and made him watch Clash of the Titans in 3D.
Wow. No one needs to be doing that.
And he still refused to shoot it
Wow.
in 3D. He said post-convert it because he just couldn't cope with the...
the hassle. God.
Well, I think
Whereas after Prometheus, Ridley Scott says he wants to shoot every movie.
I think it's going to be exciting that we're going to have this in 3D.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah.
It is actually interesting now that BBC, from our generation, being a fan of Doctor Who in the 70s and 80s, and now seeing it that the BBC want to push a new technology, and the first thing they do is do it on an episode of Doctor Who. Whereas when you think about it in the 80s, like what was it, Meglos. When they wanted to use some new technology on that episode, they weren't able to use it. They had to borrow it from the Borgias.
Wow. Yeah. And on that bombshell.
Indeed.
Yeah. No, that was when they had this camera, which allowed them to do. It would film the actors and remember all the moves of the camera, actors, and then would film on a miniature. So you could actually superimpose on a miniature, but you could do all kinds of camera moves on it. And they could only get to use it by borrowing some of the budget because the Borgias were using it, and they were borrowing it when the Borgias weren't using it.
How times have changed.
Oh, the Borgias ended up being, they thought it was going to be the new I, Claudius, but it flopped.
Yeah.
You can't get that on DVD with all special extras on it like this.
Yeah. So thanks for asking me along, guys. I will say one thing.
Yes.
I'm not in the opening credits of this show.
Right.
My name isn't there. My face isn't there. You guys.
It's like because
if you're going to be doing this on a regular basis, I might have a reason to do that.
But it's when people are watching this, it's like they're like, who is Sean Harry? Who is Elazar Cabrera? We need a picture up there so they know who we are. Whereas everybody in fan knows who you are.
Well, you're 25,000 fans.
They're not fans. God. Some of them are not fans of me.
I don't think you put anything too bad on your blogs. There might not be a fan. You might have a few Colin Bacon fans.
Yeah, you might start getting tweeted now by Colin Baker fans.
All three of them.
Please do, by the way. Please do. And Sylvester McCoy fans while you're at it. Actually.
God, don't bother. So thank you for asking me to join you guys. I look forward to. When's the next show?
It'll be quite soon, I think. Hopefully.
All right.
Yeah.
Quite soon. But when the show comes back, we're doing it every week.
The idea is when the show comes back, we'll go back to our regular weekly slot.
Wow.
Review that week's episode.
Exciting. Yeah, well, thank you very much for letting me be part of your world.
You're very, very welcome. And thank you for joining us here on Talking Who. And we will be seeing you next time. Keep tuned to our Twitter at Talking Who, where you'll find out, when we'll be back, exactly what date, and and we'll also be tweeting updates. I do a lot of retweeting of him. And
if you come along to the 11th hour in June, you can meet these two guys and get their autograph.
Or if you're in London, just come and ask us. Yeah.
Indeed. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Nanu. Anybody saying much in the?
You've been a pleasure to watch, Cameron. That's from Galaxy. Annie Fairfoul will say next time I'll include you in my greetings.
Well, she didn't know.
Potter Broadway fan 11 says I love Blog to Who. Great updates and stuff and very snarky.
Really? I'm snarky. I'm snarky.
Yeah.
Because you should have heard some of the stuff I've said on past shows. Yeah, I've got some people very upset on there when I came out with some comments about Kate Manning's acting and charisma on the show. complete lack of it. Yeah.
Ooh, Katie Manning action figure coming out.
What was that meant to be?
With the Brigadier and an Axon.
Yeah.